This is the start of our class where we discuss line work. So for initial line work, you want to go over your pencil drawing and kind of figure out what you would like to keep. Of your original drawing and leave out or don't go over the lines that you don't want to keep. So it really is as simple as that. And when you draw your line, if you want to not pick up your pen and not linger, so you want to pick one point where two lines meet and follow the line to where another two lines meet. So you're just going just like this. So you're moving your hand and not so much your fingers. So for example, I'm going to come here and just draw my line straight from one point to the next point. I didn't lift my pen. I didn't linger. I'm mostly moving my hand here, using my arm. And even with smaller lines, I am careful not to be making sketchy lines. Now these, when they came up, kind of had a hump to them. So, and I am very much, again, choosing where I want details to be. Or rather, choosing the lines and not necessarily going over all the lines created, and in some cases changing them a little bit. Like these is not really a flat line, they're kind of curvy. And they all, like if you look at the pumpkin, curves in towards the bottom. So you kind of want to bring them all down that way. You don't want to make them straight up and down. So like so. I also want to maybe draw in a little bit of texture. So with our pumpkins, much of are creating volume and kind of defining our area of volume and texture is going to be via color, especially with the pumpkins. But if there are just some particular areas of color, like for example, this line comes down, but then on the other side, there's all this orange. So I'm going to come in here like this. In this case, I'm just kind of freehand drawing what I see the orange color doing. And this is going to kind of come up like that. Now you do not have to do this with your pumpkin. You can just save it all for your color. But I think it adds interest to what we're looking at even prior to adding color. ahead. This one kind of. This kind of just a little bit over that way. And we also have just like that. Okay, now I'm going to take a eraser. This is a dust-free eraser. The eraser that came with your pencil that you're using is fine. Rubber erasers are fine. Kneaded erasers are fine. Just go ahead and check ahead of time on your paper to make sure that it's not creating a smear, which does sometimes happen with erasers. So I have all of my details in my line work now. So I'm just going to erase this. And I see in here, I actually went over some lines I didn't want to, but that's okay because I will now, let me make sure it's completely erased. All right, now I'm going to go over and add some additional textures to the stem, plus vary my line weight for interest. So, for example, with the stem here, it has lines and I don't know if you can tell, but it's got little bumps in it. So first I'm going to do some general lines like this. And then I'm just going to do some little bumps like so. Now I'm going to vary my line weight. So I want my inner lines to be less thick than my outer lines. So anywhere actually that I want to emphasize the shape, I'm going to go back over it to increase my line size. Now, this is the thickness. If you want, you can also just use a thicker pen, but it is unnecessary. We just want to come up here to show this. And I kind of want to come in from there. Again, I'm just going over. To kind of differentiate the outer and inner. It's not 100% necessary to increase your line weight all the way around. It is sometimes helpful to increase your line weight where you want there to be emphasis. Like I want there to be emphasis on the fact that this kind of all curls in. But this line is going to be thicker than this one. And here, and here, and I do not have to go all the way up on the increased line weight. do want to increase here because this will kind of separate this portion from this portion a little better. I do want to kind of come up and around here. And there are also, I don't know if you can see it, but additional little lines in this pumpkin. So I'm just going to kind of maybe do this with textures with line work as well. And I'm going to curve those lines to kind of follow the curve that we've already established. So I might just come in here for darker, increase my line weight, and come in here. And again, kind of curve it to go with. Yeah. Like that. You can add some line textures like this, or you can leave it empty. But I like how it's giving it just a little bit more form. And not only can you press harder to increase your line weight, you can of course work on being a super light touch. Let's say that's kind of need there. So heavy, and then super light touch. So barely pressing down. Again, I'm following the curve. I think I'm just going to use that. Super light, putting in texture. And this can be sketchy. Small light flicks of your pen. It's not a problem. I am still not really shading. I'm just changing, I'm adding textures, and I am varying the line weight. Like that.